Everybody, today we're going to be creating the Spotify front page using HTML, CSS, and a bit of JavaScript. What you see on my screen right now is the official Spotify front page, and this is what we will be creating, this page right here. It is very similar to the official. The only key difference is this image, as I was not able to find this online, so I used an older image from Spotify, and the font is different, as the Spotify font is not free, so we used something that was very similar. And to let you all know that all the assets that we use for this project are linked below in the description, so you can go download them if you need them. And also, just like the original Spotify website, we're going to make it interactive according to screen size by using media queries, and we're also going to have a bar icon just like this, and we'll do this by using JavaScript. And here I'll show you ours. As you can see, we get the same bar icon, and I hope you're excited. So for this project, I'm going to be using VS Code. You can choose whatever text editor you prefer, but I'm going to be using VS Code. So right now I have an empty folder. So let's just set up all our folders and everything before we start, so we can just worry about our code. So first folder I'm going to create is an assets folder. And next folder that I'm going to create is outside of it, a fonts folder. And then I'm going to create a main HTML file. And here inside the assets, I'm just gonna put images in that I have in my desktop already. So here that I have, so I'm gonna link these pictures down below. So this picture that we're gonna need, and these two pictures, I'm just gonna copy them, go to my project folder, which is here, go to my assets and just paste them here. And I'm going to do the same thing for the fonts as well. I have 3 fonts here. And also these will also be in the description below. And then I'm going to go to my folder and then go to fonts and paste these fonts there. And we should be ready to go. So in our HTML file, I'm just going to start out with the basic start of any HTML file. And I'm just going to copy that in. And this is going to be our start. And here's the good thing about about using VS Code. So here in VS Code, let's just say hello world for instance, right? Okay. So here in VS Code, you have this extension called the live server extension, and I suggest if you're using it, you download it, because now whenever you have this extension, whenever you go to your HTML and you say open with live server, it automatically opens a web page for you. And as you can see here, we have our hello world. Okay, let's go back to our VS Code here, and let's just do a bit more of setup. Let's create a style sheet file inside our assets. So I'm just going to call it styles.css, and here let's link it in our head tag. So link, and we're going to call it style sheet here, and our link to it will just be /assets/stylesheet.css. So now whatever styles we have will have our effect in our body tag now, and we should be set to just start doing all what we need to be doing. Okay, so let's get started on the navbar's HTML. So let's just first create a div class and give a container. So this will contain all of our elements in our web page. And now I'll make a nav tag, call it class of main, let's just call it main nav. Yeah, class of main nav. And what we'll do inside is we'll create a UL class, we'll call it nav options. So these will be our options that we have, and inside nav options we'll give lists, and each list will be a link. We'll make them go nowhere. As I said, this is only a front-end video. So inside the link we'll give, well, this one has premium. Okay, premium. And inside each list we'll give a class. So we're going to say this one's white text and green, because for the highlighting purposes when we do it later on. I'm going to copy this 5 times, and I'm going to add an extra one here as well, and this will just be like an empty one, but it's because they have this line as well, and we don't need the green. So they have this line in between, the Spotify webpage, so that's what we're emulating. And here these are going to be gray, as they made them gray as well. And so here they obviously have different content: help, download, and sign up, and login. And this, and we need our image here, so I'm going to put it outside of the div for the nav options. So it's going to be image class Spotify logo. I'm give it a class of Spotify logo, and we're going to give the source of it at our assets folder, and then say Spotify logo. So if we open it now, we should just have this, and this white blob is basically the Spotify logo. But okay, so let's get started with our styles. I'm gonna give comments pretty much everywhere, because otherwise I won't know what I'm doing, and style sheets are usually messy, so it's pretty good to give comments. And so let's just give some universal styles first. So let's give box sizing of around not around border box, margin 0, padding 0, so we remove all the default margin and padding that comes with HTML. And then now we style our links. We give a color of black, then we also give text decoration none. Why do we still have this? I mean, the link underline never looks that good. I mean, it should honestly just be an option if you wanted it. And so let's just go on. Style our UL list style none, because we don't want the bullets there. And let's now give our container style just margin auto, so it takes up the space that we give it. And now let's get to styling our navigations here. So our navigation, I'm gonna give a comment, obviously. Navigations, start out with the main nav. Okay, it's gonna have a lot of styles because it's pretty much gonna set our navigation. So display, not inline but flex. Background color. So what Spotify does is they have a black color, but it's sort of transparent, so we're gonna do the same thing. So we're gonna give a RGBA, and here what we're gonna do is I'm gonna give this a black color that I like, and that's basically 25, 20, 20, and it's gonna have a opacity of 0.65, and this is pretty accurate to the actual Spotify, as we will see soon. So justify content, a line item, now justify content. We're gonna give a height of 80 pixels. So it's a bit wide, and it has a good width to it, and a padding of 20 pixels left and right, 0 up and down. 20 pixels up and down, 0 left and right. Position we're gonna set fixed, because basically this is gonna allow the navbar to stay on top of our screen no matter where we scroll. So it's just gonna be at the top, and we're gonna give a z-index of 3, so we can put stuff. We're gonna put stuff under it, so it looks. So basically, the z-index makes it look like it's popping out of the screen, but not really. It's just a layering thing. Main nav UL. We're just gonna make the display flex here. We're gonna make main nav UL, and now the nav options inside of it, so I can spell it correctly. Nav options. We're gonna give it a flex 1. Okay. Here, and then margin left 525, so we're gonna push it to the right basically. So margin left pushes from the left, if you think about it. So we're gonna push it, so it's gonna be to the right of our screen. We're gonna give a width of 100 pixels, not 1000, 100 pixels. We're gonna give a font size of 15.8. Yes, I have these numbers already because I thought these numbers looked pretty accurate. Letter spacing of -0.8 pixels, so we don't want the default spacing, I want a little bit less. Margin top about 1 pixel, and font weight bold. We're gonna add the fonts after we style everything, not boldy. What? Okay. Now let's give the white text and style our image, and also the gray text. So here I'm gonna give that. So color is just gonna be white. Actually, let's just make it text color. Doesn't really matter. And then give gray text. I'm gonna give my own gray. It's like a light gray kind of color. So I like it, and it looks pretty accurate to the actual Spotify colors as well. And now let's style our image, the Spotify logo. So let's just make it to the, let's give a less margin width, margin left. So that means it's going to be more towards the left of our screen. So we're going to give it around a 270 pixels. We're going to make the width 8%. So for now we should have somewhat of a, okay, this is the actual, let's compare. Okay, so we need to add the margins to this, which I probably forgot to do in the styles. So yeah, so here when we style, oh, we forgot to style each list, that's probably why. Okay, so here we go, nav options. Okay, so now each list is gonna have a margin bottom, so of 1 pixel, and we're gonna have a margin left, so each list is 35.5 pixels to the right of the previous, if that makes sense. So let's just save that, and yep, we have it. There is a gap here, and that is because, as I added already, there's supposed to be a line here, and all I did was just add another basically a list item, and just I had class line inside of it, and let's style that right now. So all that we do is we give it basically we're just gonna make it a border pretty much, and it's gonna look like a line. So let's just give the border first. So border about 0.5 pixels solid, and then we're gonna make it white. We're gonna give it a margin top of about 1.8 pixels, a height of 16 pixels. So let's just save that, and as you can see, we have all pretty much everything similar to the actual nav bar of the Spotify webpage. We just need to make the fonts. So in order to do this, I'm gonna make font faces so we don't have to like basically access the font every single time. So how I'm gonna do this is just I'm just gonna give the source. So URL, we're gonna give it fonts, and depending on which one, we'll start off with this, and you have to give it a font family name. So we're just gonna give it Lineto Black. Okay, and I'm just gonna copy this 3 times because we have 3 fonts. We're gonna change each one. So we're gonna make this Pro Book, make this Pro Book. Okay, and then make this Pro Medium, and then that's also Pro Medium. Yeah, medium. And let's just go put the fonts wherever we need to. I'm pretty sure that's one place, and yes, that is one place, and this is here. And we'll just give font family font family of Lineto Medium, I think, which, yeah, Lineto Medium, and it should look pretty similar to the actual. Let's save, and yeah, it looks very similar to the actual. So now we have our navigation done. Now let's get started with the actual contents. So we have this card. I basically called it cards. So we have this card, the second card, and the footer. Okay, let's get started on all the cards. So let's do HTML for the HTML for both the cards first, for card 1 and 2, and we'll save the footer for last. I'm gonna do the HTML first just because I think it's gonna be more simpler and easier to follow. If I switch between HTML and style sheet, it might get a bit confusing. So I'm just gonna do it this way. So we're gonna do all the HTML for the first 2 cards. So I made a div that contains all the cards, and basically it's gonna contain all the pieces in our web page, and then I'm gonna have each separate card in another div encasing the outer div basically. So here's div 1, card 1. We give it a class of card 1, and then now we're doing the text container of it. So here's the text container of this, and then we're gonna do paragraph. We're gonna do card. We're just gonna call it card 1 text. My naming is very good, as you can see, and we're gonna do a bold tag here, and then a strong tag right after it, and I'll show you why I'm doing this here. So strong tag, we're gonna have just 3 in it, and then give it a class of bold height. And so why we're doing this is because in actual Spotify, if you were to look at this and the normal font right here and this number font is not the same. This font is actually, well, the size of it's actually bigger than these fonts. So font sizes. So we're just gonna do that. We're gonna try to emulate that with this. Okay. Add another bold tag. I'm gonna say months premium, and then we're gonna do free, and then we're gonna add a paragraph. Call it class text2, and then we're gonna say enjoy. And let's add free music even offline, and then a period. And okay, now outside of the paragraph we're gonna add, so here in Spotify they have buttons, right? And their buttons actually do stuff, like they go to another link, but since we're not doing that, we're just gonna make, I mean, their buttons are also links, but if we used Bootstrap it would look nice. So instead of that, we're not going to use Bootstrap. We're just going to make them links and try to style it as good as possible. Try to emulate their style as much as possible as well. So we're going to have a class of btn green and then btn white text. So I'm going to use 2 classes for this button, and it's going to say get, and okay, we're going to have an h5 tag inside of it, and then I'm going to say get premium. Okay, get premium. Copy this. I'm just gonna copy it again, and change it from learn more to learn more. And on their page, this isn't actually a green button. This is a white button with black text. So I'm just gonna change this accordingly with black text. Okay. I clearly can't spell. And then the last one will be the subscription div. I'm just calling it the subscription div because that was like one of the first few words, so I was too lazy, so I just said subscription div. And inside of it we'll have a paragraph which is going to contain the text clearly. So subscription text is that what we're going to call it, and it's going to say monthly subscriptions. This is a pretty long text, so okay. So monthly subscription fee applies after. Okay, and then offer not available to users so already. Okay, this is taking so long. I can't even type fast. Premium. Okay, and here we're gonna give a underline tag because they have this part of the text underlined, so we're gonna emulate that as well. And conditions apply. Okay, so this should be it for the HTML for the first. So let me also do the HTML for the second. So just so we can focus on one thing at one time and we don't have to come back and do the cart 2 as well. And especially cart 2's HTML isn't too long. It's not too much, honestly. It doesn't have that much content. So we're just gonna call it cart 2 text container, and then we're gonna give an h1 tag inside of it and say class cart 2 text. And then we're going to say Spotify free. So this tutorial is basically without using Bootstrap, but we will use Font Awesome just letting you all know. But if we were to use Bootstrap, we could definitely make it more accurate and more beautiful. So if there's like any like small like differences that you guys find, that's because we're not actually using Bootstrap and we're sort of like we're just putting them in the perfect place and we're just eyeballing it pretty much. But this is a good thing to try to improve your skills with CSS and HTML. So I hope you guys are learning something along the way. So here we're gonna do another button. You might be thinking, why am I creating another class for this? Well, I'm doing that because one, because we're making the width of it bigger, so, and it's gonna have different like styles inside of it, so that's really the reason behind it. Again, h5 tag get Spotify free, and this should be it. Let me just look over it a bit, but it seems to be it. This should be good. So we should now go in style. So here I'm going to say cards again. As I said, I'm going to give comments everywhere, so I know what I'm doing. Card 1. So let's just style card 1. I mean, we could, if you want, let's just first see what we have. So right now we should just have a bunch of mess, as you see right there. Now let's just give style to all of the cards. So we're going to just do display grid, and then we're going to do z index 1. Okay, and then we're going to style the card 1 div itself. So we're going to give it a background color of pink that I found that was pretty accurate to what they have. So it's like this color. Okay, and we're going to do display flex. We're going to do height 39 em, and em is basically something that it basically gives a height proportional to your font size that you have. So 39 em works for me, but it might be different for you depending on what font size you're using. So that's definitely something to be aware of. Okay, and then let's go to text1 container. And here we're gonna have a lot of styles. Just gonna put everything in place, basically, pretty much. So it's about 120 pixels, and we're gonna give display flex. We're gonna give flex direction of column, so we want everything stacking pretty much. We're gonna give text align of center. We're gonna give justify content center. We're gonna give align items center. We're gonna do width, and here, okay, I also need to do margin auto, but here we're giving a certain width because this will allow us to basically we're gonna try to make it overflow like this, just like they have free here. So we make the width a certain size. As you can already see, we have it pretty much aligned here. We just need to do that, and also you can see this has been pushed down. We have the pink text, so, pink background. So now it's just about all the fonts and everything. But yeah, that's why we're giving it an actual like width, so we can actually overflow it like the default way. But just so, since we're making the font size bigger, so it's going to overflow into the next line. So now let's work on the actual font, the text element, so we can change fonts. So font family, we're going to give it Lineto black here. So it's basically the most bold font that we have. And then we're going to make the weight of the thing bolder. So it's going to be really bold. And we're going to give a letter spacing. We're going to give a negative number again. So because we don't want that the default spacing, we want a bit less. Line height will be about 95 pixels. Margin bottom will be about 30 pixels. And we should have font size about 78 pixels. Okay, now let's work on the the one where we made the strong tag. So we called it bold height. And all we're gonna do is we're not gonna make the font weight bolder like we did for the other one. We're just gonna make font normal here, and we're just gonna make the font size bigger. That's all we want. So from 78, we're just gonna flip it and make it 87. Now let's work on the second text that we have, so the paragraph text. So that's what we called it, text 2. We're gonna give margin bottom of 20 pixels. Letter spacing will again be a negative number, negative 0.5 pixels. Font family will be Lineto Pro Medium. Okay. And font size, and some of these numbers might be precise, like this one, like 30.55. It's just something that I eyeballed and I thought that looked good. So if you think it looks different, you should definitely change it according to what you think it looks like to you. And here we'll do the subscription div, and here we're going to do margin top of 40 pixels, width of about, again, we're giving the width again for the same purpose we gave it for the text container, so we can overflow by making the font bigger, so it can just overflow onto the next line like the default way, like it should be. Okay, semicolon, got that. And now we'll change the text itself, so description text, and we're just gonna make font size of 12 pixels, and we're gonna change font family to Linedo Pro Book. Okay, so let's just check this out, see what we have. Okay, it's pretty well aligned, I would say. We just need to work on these buttons, but okay, let's do that right now. So I'm gonna put buttons in a different section so we don't like get confused. So this is the button section. So what we're gonna do for the buttons is just give them a background and just change their font so it looks pretty decent. So BTN green. Okay, and then we're gonna give it a position relative so we can put it inside and just move it around. And then we're gonna give a border of none, but the other button, the BTN white that we called it, it's not gonna be really white, but we just gave it the name. So that color, it's gonna have a border because that's what they did for their actual one as well. So again, this background's gonna be green. So just a green that I thought that was pretty accurate with theirs. Width's gonna be 215 pixels. Height's gonna be about 500 pixels. Padding on all sides we're gonna give 16 pixels. But we're gonna push it down a bit, so top 18 pixels. And we're gonna give a right, so it's a little bit to the left instead of actually being perfectly aligned, because we want the buttons right next to each other. So we're gonna give a border radius of 25 pixels so the button's rounded. Now just copy this pretty much, and we're just gonna make this BTN white. Same thing, except as I said, this is gonna have an actual border to it, and we're gonna make the background for this the pink that we have for the actual background of the card one, basically. And then we're gonna change some of the, like, okay, so we're gonna make this top change, and then we're gonna flip this exactly so it's exactly proportionally away from the other button. And now let's do the text that we put inside of them. So that BTN white text. So we're gonna do box sizing here for border box. So just for aligning everything pretty much in color, we're gonna make it white. And then we're gonna do font size of 16 pixels. Then we're gonna make font family of Linedo Pro Book. And we'll just do letter spacing, and we're gonna space it out, not give negative spacing this time here. And exact same thing for I think we called it black text. Yeah. Okay, so just take the exact same thing, and I made a mistake here for the white text. I made it black for some reason. Okay, anyways, this should be pretty, this should work now. So let's just check this out. As you can see, it looks pretty well, I think. Did not save okay, yeah, I didn't change this to black, so that's why it looks that way. And as you can see, it's pretty accurate to theirs. We haven't added any of the hovering effects, but we will do that after we do all the cards. So okay, let's go on to style the card 2. So here we'll do card 2, and here for the styling of this, we're gonna have a background image, which I link in the description if you want to download it. I don't have the most updated image, but I do have an older one. So anyways, let's get started on this. We're gonna do top, we're gonna make 39 EM. So we're gonna push it down so it's perfectly aligned with the actual, it's perfectly aligned with the of the bottom side of the card one. So it's basically right under it, pretty much is what I'm trying to say. URL, we're gonna go to our assets, and then and it's called Spotify mid, and that's the one we want to use. We want to set the property for the background so it does not repeat. We want the background size to cover pretty much the same size as the first card, so it's going to be 100% width, and also it's going to have 39 EM. Height, we're also going to make it 39 EM. Okay, and we're just going to do, now we're going to click on the text container of card2. Okay, so it's gonna have, I think it's gonna be almost the exact same, except there's gonna be a few differences, but not too many. So justify content center, forgot to text align. Sorry, forgot to text align. And now we're gonna do line items center. So we're just centering everything so it's at the center of the card itself, the text the card, which is part of the center of the text container. So now we're gonna give a margin bot of 100 pixels. So we wanted a little bit above center, and then we want a height of 35 em. So we don't want the text container to be the entire size, entire height of the card. So we can have it. It's gonna add this like slightly above the center effect that we want. And then we're now going to do the card2 text here, and we're going to make font family, we're going to make it Lineto black. Basically all the headers you're going to have, all the titles and headers are going to have this, because this basically just adds, this is the most bold font we have, so it's just going to make it look better. Again, we're going to make it bolder, the font weight, so it's going to be even more bold, and we're going to make this white color, and then letter spacing, negative 1.2 pixels, not 1 divided by 2, we don't want that. And then we're going to make font size. It's pretty much the same thing as it basically has the same font properties as the first one. And here we're going to do card2 text 2. And here we're doing the same thing, almost white. We're going to give font family, not outline, font family of Lineto Pro Medium. Pro Book, sorry. And then we're gonna give a margin top, so it's a bit below from the first text area, and then we're gonna go font size of about 21 pixels. So this should look okay. So as you see, this looks good right now, just like this one. All we need to do is style this button that we have here. So again, we'll go to the button area. In fact, let me copy all the card2 stuff that we just added and put it right above the button, just because we want the buttons to be separate from our card so we don't get messed up with them. So this is where we're gonna add the second button. It's really gonna be very similar. It's just the width's gonna be different, and we're gonna change some of the right and left properties. So let's do that. So we'll just take BTN green here, okay, and then we're gonna say card2 because that's what we named it. And here we're gonna go position relative. Everything is gonna be the same. We're gonna change the width here to 245. We're gonna change the top to 45 here, and then right's gonna be 10. So it's gonna be pretty close to the center. And this should make it look okay. The width's too much. We probably messed up. Yeah. Okay. So we forgot to change the height here, so it should be 50. And as you see, we got it. So we have pretty much the first two cards done here. All we have to do, okay, we need to check the subscription div, as I just caught that. So the subscription div looks a little bit different than what it should look like, so let's change that. So after shaking my screen for a while and thinking of what I'm doing, I finally found my problem. Okay, after searching around for like 3 minutes, we have finally declared that I cannot spell. So yeah, we need to change this to Lineto and not Liento or whatever we wrote. And this should be fine. As you can see, we have fixed the problem. Okay, so now let's get started on the footer, and this is going to take a while because the footer has a lot of things in it, as I will show you right now. And then after we add the footer, okay, let's get started on the footer. So in my head tag, I'm gonna import this link. I'm gonna copy paste this link tag, and this is basically gonna give us a reference to Font Awesome's icons for all social media icons. So just like how they have the social media icons for Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, we're gonna get access to those and style them in our footer as well. So, but now let's just get started on our footer. So under the card div, I'm gonna create a footer tag. Call it class footer. Then I'm going to create a div and I'm going to call it class image container. container. I'm just going to create a Spotify logo just like theirs. We see here they have a Spotify logo right here. So class image container, and it's going to create an image class. We're going to call it footer image. Okay. And we're going to give it a source of, again, same assets, Spotify logo. Okay. Enter Spotify logo. Okay. Clearly can't select the right one. Okay. Spotify logo. And we're just going to close it off. And now we're going to create a divider for all of our links that we have in our footer. So we're just going to call them footer links. Okay. And inside we're going to have 3 ULs, and we're going to have one UL. In each UL we're going to have one that's just a header for the UL pretty much. So it's not like, it's a list item, but it's not a link to anywhere. And anyway, our links don't do anything, as I stated before. They're just to show, just like so we can replicate the actual. It's actually, instead of copy pasting those, let me just write out all the links. So we're just gonna do that so it goes nowhere pretty much. And for the company section, this is about. I should probably change that where we don't see anything. So this is pretty much what we have to do for the other 3 ULs, depending on what the text says, and then we're gonna style them. Okay, for this, the footer styling is definitely the hardest part, in my opinion, as this is going to take a pretty long time, but hopefully not too long. Okay, this here has 5, so here we have for artists, and then developers, we have brands, investors, and vendors. It's the last one. Okay, so that's the second UL done, and now the third one, which is basic. I'm going to copy this instead, and this is going to say useful links, and here we only have 3 again. So help, yes, help, web player, free mobile app. Okay, and now we're just gonna have another div inside of the footer links div, and we're gonna call this div the class. We're gonna give it a class of last section div. So what this contains is basically, I'll show in a moment, contains this row right here. And for now, we probably just see all these list items, and this white space is the Spotify image, as its default is very big. And this looks like it all got shifted, but that's fine. We'll fix that, and it won't have any effect on it. Okay. Last section div. So then here we're gonna have another UL pretty much, but instead this UL is gonna be aligned in a row, so it's not gonna be in a column. So so we're gonna do UL and then list items, and they're just all links pretty much. So obviously we're gonna make them go nowhere, and this says legal, basically all their like their security stuff and their privacy policies pretty much. And yeah, privacy center, privacy policy, cookies, about ads, and then additional CA privacy disclosures. And I live in California, so it might be different for other places, but for me it's CA privacy disclosures. And the last one, we're going to make it a paragraph because it's going to be shifted to the right, and I don't want to make it part of the list, and because it's going to keep moving, and that will do that for the media query. So I'm going to call this Spotify copyright here, basically their copyright area, and we're just going to call it Spotify clone, not the same thing that they have. You can call it Spotify. Their thing says Spotify AB. I'm just gonna call it Spotify clone AB, so it adds a bit of uniqueness to ours. And then under this here, and then after this div right here, we're gonna put a div that's gonna say, basically gonna say it's gonna have the copy. I'm gonna call it the copyright area, like the state copyright area, because that's what it, well, it's not the state, but it's just the country area, but I'm just gonna call it that because it said my naming is very good, which is really not. And it's gonna say USA text because why not? It says USA. And we're gonna have image source, and we're gonna give our from our assets folder the American flag image that we have, and I'm just gonna call it America flag, right? And it's basically this part. That's what, pretty much what we just created. As you can see, it looks like a mess right now, but that is totally fine. And the last thing that we're gonna add, which is out of this div tag altogether, is gonna be our social media icons. So we're just gonna sort of place them there, like we're gonna make their, so it's not gonna be part of the actual link tab, so we can give different like styling to them, and also different hover effects if we want to. And so here I'm gonna say AHR. Okay, they're all links, so we're just gonna give them somewhere else. And here, depending on what you want to say font awesome, and then you want to go font awesome FA, and then they have Instagram, so I'm gonna write Instagram here. And at the start it might look really bad just because we haven't styled any of these yet. Okay, so let's see what I'm doing wrong. Oh yeah, my bad. It's not a self-closing thing. Should fix that everywhere. And talking about this again. So they also have Twitter. They have Facebook. Okay. So this should be it for the HTML for the footer. Now our job is to style this mess pretty much. Okay, let's get to that then. Okay, let's get started on styling the footer. So I'm just gonna call it card 3 and then just give links, even though this is the footer, but that's pretty much what I called almost everything, so I'm just gonna go with that. So now image container here, we're gonna change the width here to 140 so our image doesn't take up all of the space, a lot of space, not all of it, a lot of space. We're gonna make the height 45 pixels, and I found this to be pretty accurate, so I'm gonna stick with that. Now we're going to change the image itself. That was just the container of the image. Now we're going to change the image itself. So we're going to do width of about 94% of the container. And now we're going to style the footer. So for the footer we want a background color of black, so let's add that. Give a background color of black. We want the width to be auto, so it's just going to take up the entire size of the width of our screen. We're gonna give it a height. We're not gonna give it the same 9 EM that we give. We're gonna give it a 32 point EM. So we're gonna make it a little bit like we're gonna make it a little bit shorter. We're gonna display grid. Okay, and then we're gonna do a padding left of 270. So basically, we're creating this right here, this space right here, and as you can see, it's sort of coming together. So we'll give a padding left. And then we're not done with the footer yet. We're gonna do padding top of 75, so we push it down pretty, not left, padding top of 75, so everything is pushed down just like the actual. It's pushed down here, so we should see it right here, as you can see. So now we're gonna do grid templates. So this is gonna allow us to create our grid columns without like actually putting them into place with like padding right and like margins. Instead of that, we're just gonna do it like this. So we're gonna do 150. We're gonna repeat not 4 times. So basically, this is gonna repeat all the ULs plus this image in the same row, and then we can just change depending on what we want. So as just sort of like this. So it doesn't show because our links are all currently black color. So when we get to the links, you can see them. In fact, let's do that. What are links? So let's go to just make the display here also grid. Here grid, and then again we want them in a basically columns. So again we're gonna repeat 3 times, and we're gonna give about 200 pixels space between each one of them, and we'll give a margin top of 20 because the actual Spotify it's not perfectly straight aligned. It's a little bit below, so that's what we're basically going for here. And here we're gonna go and style the footer links now. So well, the headings basically. So like the titles of each. So the first list item in each UL. So we're gonna get a color, and it's gonna be sort of a light gray. So it's gonna be A9. And the font size, we're gonna give it about 12 pixels. And we're gonna do font family of Lineto Pro Medium, and letter spacing of about 0.5 pixels, and we're going to give a margin bottom of 25 pixels. So we should see the headers now, and as you can see them, they're in the right place. And you might see like small differences between each, and that's because of all the stuff that's here. And two, we don't have the exact font as I stated before. So okay, let's go to each of the links now and style those. So footer links, UL li, instead of H5 we'll go A, which is the link tags, and we'll do display flex. We're gonna make color white, and then we're gonna make margin bottom. So each link will have about 20 pixels from the top. It's gonna have space from the top, then from the previous link. So it's basically just giving gaps between each link in short. And we're gonna make font family of Lineto Pro Book, and let's just see what we have. And as you can see, we have this, and this looks pretty accurate. Just look at this part right now, because obviously this is definitely not what we want, but we're gonna do that later. And here, in fact, let's do that right now. Let's do the last section div that we created. So last section div, and let's just work on the UL of it. And what we're gonna, okay, we'll do the UL, and let's first do the actual div itself. That might be helpful before doing the UL. So we're just gonna make width of it auto, right? And we're gonna give a margin top of 25 pixels, so it's below the top links pretty much. And now we're gonna make the UL's position absolute, and then display we're gonna make flex. We're gonna make flex direction row because we want them in a row, we don't want them in columns. And we're gonna make margin top 5 pixels, make margin left. So we're just gonna push it to the right pretty. Oh no, well, we're giving it a negative, so we're technically pushing it to the left. So here, and also next we're gonna work on the list items of this. So I'm just gonna take that and say, so that we're gonna say li here. We're gonna do the list items, and then we're gonna also change the links as well. And basically all this link, the list item does is push each 125 pixels to the right of the previous, 23, sorry. And now we're gonna do the exact same thing here, except it's gonna be the ULs, li, and then the links itself. So now here we're gonna give the links again the same gray color, because that's what the Spotify website also does. And we're gonna give it a font size of 12, so it's gonna be pretty small. And we're gonna give a font family of Lineto Pro Book. So pretty much very similar to the actual title, but except these are just smaller. And here, and you'll see, we can see them here. They're right on top of this US flag. We'll fix that as we get down. So we're sort of getting there. And okay, now let's work on the social media icons area. Media icons. Okay, so all we want to do for this div is just make the width and basically set the place of where we're going to put all of this. So give a height of 60, and now we're just going to put it to the place that we want to. And I'm going to use percentages here, because if I used pixels, the numbers would be too annoying to look at, so I'm just going to use percentages. And then we're going to give a margin top of about 20 pixels. Now we're going to work on the copyright area, right? So we called it state, and then we called it some cop. See, my naming is really bad, but I mean, as long as it gets the job done, right? So here, display, and we're going to say flex, and then we're going to work on the America flag because it really looks like a mess right now because of the width and it's way too big. We need to align it as well, so we're going to make the width of it about 12% of the actual size, and then height of it around 15%, and I found that to be a good ratio for the actual size of the flag compared to the actual Spotify website. And we're going to give a margin left of around, I think, 8 pixels, and we're going to give margin top around 3 pixels. Now let's see what we have. Let's just see what we have, honestly. So yeah, we got a good size here, and it's looking very similar. We just need to push this over, get these icons in, but it's looking pretty good, I would say, for now. And okay, so let's work on the actual text, the USA text right next to the flag. So we're gonna give it a color of the gray again, so A9, A9, and then we're gonna do margin top of 4, so we're gonna push it down a bit so we can have it center aligned, I guess. And then margin left of about 348%. As I said, I don't want to use pixels because it's just gonna get messy. And font size is it's gonna be 12 pixels. And font family is gonna be Lineto Pro Medium, actually, not the book one. This just, I found it to look better. So now we should see this in the right area, just like this. Okay, as you saw, the fonts are a bit different, that's why it's looking like it's going up a bit, but otherwise it's pretty good, I would say. Then we're gonna do Spotify copyright area, right, the div that we created, and we're gonna make it a color of the, okay, not the div, yeah, the div pretty much, and then we're gonna make the color of that this color, and then we're gonna the gray color, and then we're gonna do font size 12 pixels. We're gonna do font family again, except it's gonna be Lineto Pro Book, so just like all the other like links on the bottom. And then we're gonna do a margin left of about 400 pixels, and we should see it there as well. It's a little bit off, but I think if we were to just put margin left of like 500 would be good. Okay, bit less than that, so like about 450, and I think we could mess with this, but I would say, I mean, I would want to keep it 420, but again, yeah. So 430 is about what we need. Okay, now let's work on the actual icons. So for each of the icons, we can just access by saying FA, like Instagram and all that. I'm gonna put a comment here just so I know when to access which one. So Instagram, and they're gonna have all pretty much similar fonts. Just we're just gonna change around the positions. So after we do one, the rest should be pretty simple. So we're gonna get this black tint, like it's a sort of a lighter black, but it also has a gray in it color. So we're gonna change the font, like the color inside of it, the logo color. Make font size about 20 pixels and width of 54 pixels of like the circle area. And then we're gonna do text align to the center, so we have it in the center. And then we're gonna add border radius of 50%, so it actually looks like a circle. And we're gonna do a margin right of about 10 pixels from where we put the icon div. So this is the social media icon div, so 10 pixels from that. And this should be aligned right now, the Instagram. We should see it aligned right here. It's just we need to make the height of it for the Instagram. We need to make it a bit bigger, and also we need to add a padding. Actually, I don't think we need to make the Instagram thing any bigger. We just need to add some padding and 13 pixels to each side. And this should set it up. Yep, and that looks very good. It looks pretty much exact as this. We just need to add these two. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll just copy this twice and change the names. Let's say Twitter and Facebook. Okay. So for Twitter, we just need to move the stuff around a bit. And some of the font sizes need to change to make it look exact. So 24, we're gonna change the font size to 24. We're gonna give a padding of 14.5, and this is gonna make it look almost the exact same as the other circle. And then the margin right will be the same, 10 pixels. And this should be set, I'm pretty sure, I would assume. And yeah, let's check this out. Let's see what this looks like. And as you can see, we already got the Facebook in. It's just we need to center it a bit. So all we need to do for the Facebook is, I'm pretty sure, change the font size a bit. Change it to 25 and then make the padding 16. Right? This should be good. We should be. And as you can see, we have all the entire footer done. Looks very similar. In fact, I think it looks almost identical besides this part, the clone part. But otherwise, it looks very similar. In fact, let's do another thing. I think we should add the 2020 here. So let's do that by basically going here, HTML, and then here we're just doing 2020, right? And it's going to be a little bit too much to the right, so we're just going to make it back to what we had, which was 400. And as you can see, it should be perfectly aligned. So we have our footer done. So this is the end of part 1. We finished all the cards. We did all of the header navigation, all of that. Now our job is to do highlighting for the links, do size and do media queries to manage the size, and also add a bar when it gets too small. So stay tuned for part 2, which will be coming soon.